Hi friends, it is Friday and we are going to get started on our math for week 3, day 5. Week 3, day five's packet looks like this. It has the clocks and it also has the digital clocks below. So we call these analog clocks, the big ones, and then we've got the digital clocks down below. All right, we are going to get started. So if you'd like to grab your pencil, go for it. We're on week 3, day 5. It wants us to read the clock faces because this is what we call a face of a clock, and write the time on the digital clock. So let's start with A. When we are reading a analog clock that looks like this, we always start with the small hand first. The small hand, let me write this over here. The small hand is our hour hand. The large hand is our minute hand. Okay, so we're going to start with the small hand. That's our hour hand. Now the small hand looks like it is closest to the 4. So we would say that it is 4. Okay, that's the hour. It's 4. But in order to find out the minutes, we have to look at the long hand. The long hand is pointing at the 3, but we don't say it's 4, 3. We count by 5s, starting with the 1. So when we're counting the minutes, we count by 5s. When we're counting the hours, we do not do that. So now we're on to our minutes, so we're going to count by 5, starting at the 1. So we say it's 5, 10, 15. So the time in the first clock A is 4:15. We can also say that it is a quarter after 4. Okay, you might hear some grown-ups say that. It's a quarter after 4 or 4:15. All right, let's take a look at our second clock. Remember, we always start with the hour hand, and the hour hand is in between the 2 and the 1. We can't say that it's 2 o'clock yet because the hour hand is not perfectly on the 2. Okay, for it to be 2 o'clock, the hour hand would have to be pointing exactly at the 2, and the minute hand would have to be pointing exactly at the 12. Okay, so it's still technically 1 as the hour. Okay, it's still technically 1 even though the hour hand is so close to the 2. Because it's not there yet, it's still 1. Now, we're going to work with our long hand. I just said that the long hand is our minute hand, and our minute hands count by 5s. So we're going to start at the 1, and we're going to count by 5s until we get to our minute hand. So we would say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Okay, so clock B is 1:45. 1:45 for clock B. Let's take a look at clock C. Let's look at the hour hand first. That's the smaller hand. The hour hand is not quite to the 8. Okay, so since it's not to the 8 yet, we say it's still 7 o'clock. Okay, it's still 7 as the hour. Now let's look at that long minute hand. Okay, the long minute hand counts by 5s. So let's start with the 1 and start counting by 5s until we reach our minute hand. We've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So the time is 7:30, or we could also say 7:30. Our last clock, the hour hand, is pointing very closely to the 10. So the hour is 10. What's the minutes going to be? Well, remember the long minute hand counts by 5s. So let's start with 1. 5, 10, 15. So the last clock is 10:15. Or we could say that it's a quarter after 10. All right, very nice. Let's move on to the next section. The next section has us putting a puzzle together. It gives us pictures, and we have to try to figure out what the value is for each picture. Value means number. How much is it worth? How much is this cactus worth? Well, to figure that out, we need to look over here at the equal sign. Cactus plus cactus equals 16. Do you know two numbers put together that equals 16? Okay, they have to be the same number because look, they're both cactuses, so that means they're the same number. I know that 8 plus 8 equals 16. So our cactus, okay, the cactus equals 8. The cactus equals 8. That's going to help us, okay? Because now when I see this cactus, I know it's worth 8. But I still don't know how much this leaf is worth. 8 plus what would give us 9? 8 plus one more, 8 plus 1 would give us 9. So we know that the leaf is worth 1. Okay, we're starting to figure this out here. Now we know that the leaf is worth 1. Okay, so that's going to help us right here. But we don't know how much the 4-leaf clover is worth. Blank minus 1 equals 2. If you have a number and you take away 1, it will give you 2. Well, if I have 3, okay, if I have 3 and I take away 1, I'm left with 2. So my 4-leaf clover is worth 3 because 3 minus 1 equals 2. So my clover is going to be worth 3. All right, that's going to help me for the last one. Remember, we said the cactus is worth 8. We said the clover is worth 3. Okay. So 8 minus 3 equals blank. I'm going to let you solve that, 8 minus 3, and you're going to write your answer over here next to the question mark. Next couple problems have to do with counting coins. Mr. Mole needs help. He is still a little mixed up about how to use a dollar sign, a cent sign, and the decimal point. That's the little dot that we see right here. Count the money in each box and write the amount correctly. So in order to do this next section, you do need to know the value of money. Now, just as a quick refresher, I brought this up so that you can remember that the quarter is worth 25 cents. If we write it as a decimal point with the little dot, it looks like this with the money sign. The dime is worth 10 cents. The nickel is worth 5 cents. The penny is worth 1 cent. Okay, now that we've had our little refresher, that should make it a little easier for us. Let's start with A. This to me looks very close to the 5-cent nickel. See how this looks very close to the 5-cent nickel. So I know that this is worth 5 cents. These look like pennies to me, and I know that pennies are worth 1 cent. And this right here also, see how they look the same? This one down here is also a nickel. When we add these values together, we get 5, 10. Okay, now let's switch over to ones. 5, 10, 11, and 12. So 12 cents is what we ended up with for A. Let's switch to B. Look at all these little tiny dimes are what that is. So look at this dime over here. See how it looks very similar to this dime over here? So we've got a lot of tiny dimes. We've got some dimes here. I know that dimes are worth 10 cents. This one's 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 worth 10 cents. This dime is worth 10 cents. And this dime is worth 10 cents. However, this is not a dime. If I look back at my cheat sheet, it looks very similar to the nickel. So this must be a nickel. I know that nickels are worth 5. Now all I have to do is add up the values. When I'm adding up the values or the numbers, I always want to start with the bigger, greater values first, which are the tens. So I'm going to count my tens first, or my dimes. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and I can't forget this 5 right here. So I've got 65. 65. Now when I'm writing it with the dollar sign, if I just have cents, I need to put a 0, decimal point, and then the 65 goes at the end, okay? If I write it just with the cent sign, I would just write 65C with a little line going down the C, okay? But I don't have that on my computer. So there's two different ways that we can write it. We can write it with the money sign or the dollar sign, okay? The dollar sign looks like an S with a line down the middle, 0.65 or 65 cents. We could also write it like this, 65 cents. I just need a little line going down from my C to make it a cent sign. This one is interesting because it has all kinds of coins in it. So this one might be our challenging one, most challenging one yet. We've got $1. Okay, we've got $1. This right here looks very similar to the 5-cent nickel. So we've got a 5-cent nickel. We've got a 10-cent dime. We've got another 5-cent nickel, another 5-cent nickel, and this is our big quarter, and quarters are worth 25. All right, this is a lot of addition that we have to do, okay? So we're going to start, let's start with our biggest coin first. We've got 25 right here. If I add 5 more, 25 plus 5 more, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, so now I'm up to 30 with these two coins. 30 plus 5 more is 35. So now I'm up to 35. Now I'm up to 35. If I add this 5 into the mix, 35 plus 5 more, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Now I'm up to 40 cents, and I can't forget this dime right here. 40 cents plus 10 equals 50 cents. So I've got, so far, I've got 50 cents. But I have to remember to add this dollar. Okay, I've got to add the dollar in. I put my dollars on this side of the decimal point. Okay, here's our decimal point, that little dot right there. I put my dollars on this side, and I put my change, my coins, on this side. And I can't forget to put my money sign. Okay, so I've got $1.50 here that I can spend. All right, that marks the end of week 3, day 5's math. I hope that you found that successful and easy. If you did not, please reach out to me and have a wonderful day.